Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Ahead of the Curve. And guys, this is Ahead of the Curve looking back on 2023. I'm David Thomas. With me, I have Mr. Bill Anderson. And down on the end, Mr. Josh Blevins. Both of these two guys are in the mix and on the beat, and they're correspondents of Shelbyville Now and have done a fine job this year. And we just sat down and we want to discuss the top 5 news stories of Bedford County. Of
Which
Shelbyville,
is hard.
Bedford
A
County.
lot's gone on in the
We've had a lot of stuff happen in 2023, and we want to definitely talk about it. And also, I'm anxious to hear what other people think too. So if you're watching this video and you think of another topic that was maybe bigger than what we're talking about, just throw it out there in the comments. We appreciate it. And we want to thank our sponsor for this show, Dennis Young Insurance here in Shelbyville. If you have a need for any type of insurance, visit Dennis Young out on Madison Street. His number is 931-680-1011. Dennis Young Insurance. We thank him for that. Guys, it's been a crazy year. And as I sat here and think, and we started talking about it, the one thing early in the year that had everybody's attention was the wheel tax situation. Guys, how did y'all like the way that unfolded?
That was the most people. I went to a lot of county meetings this year, and that was the most people I've seen in that room in the courthouse for that meeting where the commission voted on that. I mean, if you consider the amount of comments on Facebook and the amount of, just nobody was happy with the way that unfolded.
It was the way it was done, guys.
Yeah.
Because the way it was done was, the attempt was this. They had already worked it through the legislature to where it was going to get, so you had it on the agenda months ago before it was brought to us. And what it was going to happen was we could not take it to referendum off it being a private act.
Right.
And then for several of my colleagues to sit in that room and say, this isn't about a wheel tax. Of course it's about a wheel tax. You've already got it on the agenda at the Senate, at the state level.
Yeah.
To bypass the people. That was the problem.
Right. I think they found, and I've only been here a couple of years, but I've heard this wheel tax has been brought up before. And if it goes to a referendum, they know the answer is going to be no.
But if you sold it right, possibly, because we always say we want it to go for education.
Right.
But it was clear in this case, because it was brought back again, as you all remember, Commissioner Hooker and I think my fellow Commissioner Adam Thomas brought it back up.
Yeah.
Well, it was going to all pretty much go for education. Well, that was never the way that they wanted it. Everybody's got to have their hand in that cookie jar because you want your piece of the wheel tax. Every department head wanted their piece of the wheel tax. They were going to put it for education.
Right.
It might pass referendum if you put it off for education. It would have a better chance.
It would have a better chance.
But if it's just going to be the old cookie jar of everybody getting it, and I don't trust us as the commission not to raise it every year.
Yeah.
Every time we need money, 20 more bucks. I can hear us doing it every year.
Yeah.
Right. In cookie jar analogy, they could say education, get it voted through, and then next year $20 more comes in, and
For
that's not
something
going to
else.
education.
Well, I
That's
think you would have
going
seen
to
no more than
whatever.
20% going to education when it was all said and done.
Right.
Because you were the sheriff's department was going to get theirs, fire department was going to get theirs, the highway department was going to get theirs. Everybody's going to get theirs. Well, education would sell to the people maybe, and I don't know if it would or wouldn't.
Right.
But it's your right to vote on a referendum for that.
Right.
And to try to take that away to me is what was so wrong.
Yeah. And I think that the whole story was what you mentioned to start with, Josh. The courtroom was full.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was standing room only. So
Yeah.
it showed that the people will get out when they feel like something's going on that they need to be heard on. And there were several people that spoke on this at the meeting.
Yeah.
And the end result was it got turned down. Our commissioners stood up and said no.
Right.
What was the vote? 10-8 or 11-7?
It was 11-7.
11-7, something like that. Maybe we have to go back and
it
look.
had to
but-
pass
I
by
had a couple
2/3.
of passes too that had to have 12, but I think
Right.
a few commissioners passed.
Right. So that got turned down. And then the second part B to this story is when Adam Thomas and Drew Hooker brought it back up for the education, like you were talking about. And it got
Very
withdrawn.
people that were for it were
Uh,
against it then for this reason because it was all going for education.
Well, it got stopped before it ever got through committee.
Yeah, it never
That is
even
withdrew.
came to a vote.
Right,
Yeah, it
right.
was,
But
it was
that's-
clear that it wasn't going to go anywhere. So
Right. The very committee that brought this other situation up.
I am going
Ones
to warn
that-
y'all about something that I see coming.
Okay.
I think the wheel tax isn't dead. I think you're going to see it brought
Okay,
back up
all
here
right.
real soon because when they get this broadband thing we've been talking about, let's say it's a $10 million grant, you're going to have to come up with $2 million to match the grant.
Yeah, there's a match.
Right.
And I could see, and I have a feeling you're going to see a wheel tax attempt to
For
get
that.
the broadband, but to get the grant.
Okay. All right.
Well, the bottom line on a grant is this: if the grant's $5 and I've got to give $1 and I don't have the dollar, then I didn't need the $5. I mean, what part of the math am I missing?
Okay.
Right.
Just
Good
because
point.
you're getting a grant and to spend money, but you got to spend money to get it.
Yeah.
Where are we at with that? It's sort of like the Ag Center. I applied with the USDA for a grant for
Right.
$50,000 to build a bathroom that shouldn't have cost 50. But to get the hoops for the grant, I had to put up 12,000, and it was going to cost $250,000 to build the bathroom when I went through the hoops. So what's the point?
That better be
Exactly.
a Bucky's level nice bathroom for that kind of money.
Well, the government is so picky with this stuff. One of the state parks here just spent $640,000 on a bathroom.
Wow. That's where our money goes. All
Right.
right. All right. So we've got that big deal with the wheel tax, and you think it's coming back
I
up.
think
So
it's
we'll-
I don't think it's dead, folks.
All right, all right.
Well, there's
We'll-
ahead of
we'll-
the curve. We're looking forward.
That's right.
to.
We're looking forward now.
They're going to bring
All
it back.
All right. So the other
Shine
thing,
it up for you too, and try to convince you about it. And it's not going to
the
education.
number 2 top news story is we did not have a property tax increase in Bedford County. So for what? 3 out of the last 4 years before this year,
4 out of 6.
4 out of 6,
Uh-huh.
we had, however you want to spend it, our property taxes went up. This bottom line. I mean, we got one of the highest per capita, I don't know how you would look at it, rates around. And then, like, just my own personal, I look at it, I go, good cow. It can't go anymore.
Was
You
it
know?
95 counties in the state of Tennessee?
95.
95.
Yeah,
96,
I looked
95.
at the stats when we were running. I want to say we're in the top 25% maybe of the
Yeah.
districts. There's a lot more districts because you've got cities and counties, and
Yeah.
but we're running in that top 25% as far as our
Right.
rate versus the rest of the state.
Right.
But if you
But
take that out and just go off counties, when I first got on the commission 10 years ago, we were 79th in taxes, and in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you just look at
Lowest.
counties, we're in the top 15, right up to about number 12 in the other way now.
At the county rate.
At the county
yeah,
rate,
right.
we're in the top 12.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But the
That's not a
news-
good thing, y'all.
Well, the news was good that we didn't have an increase,
that's
and
good,
I
right.
expected an increase, but it didn't happen.
Right. And there was rumors, there was the SRO issue at
Right.
the beginning of when we were talking taxes, and
Right.
they're like, we're going to need these SROs. We don't have the money. Buckle up. We're coming with another property tax increase.
Right. But then
And
the
that
governor
ended up-
came in with that subsidy coming forward to SROs,
Right.
which would have put money into the pockets of every school for an SRO in every single school, which jumped our expenditures up. But we had the money with that money.
Right.
With what we already had budgeted, we could do it and didn't have to do it. But then we got money sitting around, Josh.
Yeah, that's what we talked a little bit off air before we started recording here. We always have the budget cycle where we tear apart the budget every year, but the budget's just a projection.
Right.
And I love Robert Daniel, runs our finance department. He does a great job. Nice guy, easy to talk to, but he is very conservative in his estimates. We'll put it that way. So at the end, in the fall of the year, we get the audit back from the state. And then we see the actual numbers, what we spent, what we brought in. So in last year's budget, we in the general fund, we came in $2.6 million ahead of what was on the budget, of what was estimated. And then on the expenditures, we came in 5.1 million below on that. So at the end of the day, we just looking through a lot of numbers here that we had, we were expecting a $3.4 million shortfall at budget time, and we came in 4.6 million excess with the actual numbers. So we're coming in, we're very conservative on our revenue estimates, and we get to the end of the year and we've got a lot more money than we were told we were going to have at budget time.
So that looks good for next year. We've got carry forward money. Or where does that money go?
It's supposed to carry forward. We're sitting at audit time. I believe we were sitting on $5 or $6 million that wasn't assigned to anything, just sitting there. That was available for any kind of expenditure, and then a lot of other money sitting in the bank that's already dedicated to something. It's got to go to education. It's got to go here. It's got to go there.
Yeah.
So,
well. That to me was big news that we didn't have it because I fully expected.
Well,
it.
I will
think
say this
everybody did.
too. When I first got on the commission, as far as being conservative or what have you, it was basically a 14-4 commission the first 2 or 3 times I served. Thank you, the public, for electing some of these new commissioners you've elected. Because right now, I think we're basically a 9-9 commission.
Right.
It's not 14-4 about taxes.
as far as conservative
Conservative
versus liberal.
versus liberal. I mean, I really think it's about 9-9.
Fair
And actually, on a lot of things, it's maybe our way 10-8.
Okay, so maybe eventually we will get to a conservative majority.
Well, when I think the majority of Bedford County is quite conservative,
Right.
the elected officials don't seem to represent that conservative view that I think the public here is 70-75%
Right.
conservative.
Right.
And
Oh,
I
yes.
sort of see when I first got on the commission, it was like me and one or two other people. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
How did this happen?
you don't listen to the folks.
Yeah.
I mean, listen to your constituents,
Right.
talk to people.
Right. Well, maybe that's turning. Maybe the tide's turning a little bit here. And I think
And I think another thing is getting commissioners that don't work for the county or in government is a key, because if you've never made a payroll, you've never run a business, and you've always worked for the government, you always just go ask for more money. Well, if you've run a business, you can't just ask for more money, or if you raise your price too high, you're bankrupt, you're out of business.
right.
Right.
But when you come from that government background, well, let's just raise taxes and get some more money.
Yeah, that was one of the things that surprised me during the most recent property tax increase. When I saw the number of commissioners that were voting on a property tax increase that worked for the county. I'd been in Davidson County most of my whole life, and there, you've got the city council. Those guys aren't out, they're not holding a county.
And you were
or
giving
city
yourself
job.
a raise too, in
Right,
the
you're
instance
voting
that
to
you were
give
voting
yourself
yourself a
more money.
raise, which the state honestly says you can't do. That's why at the time I tried to divide the budget on the line item vote where
Right.
it's illegal. But if you lump it together, it's okay.
It's okay to vote. Yeah.
Okay, come on now. You're giving yourself a raise, and the state says you can't do it.
Right. And they had that little thing they had to read where they said, even though I'm voting to give myself more money, I'm not doing it because it's for me. I'm doing it to help my constituents. I'm giving myself a raise to help my
Yeah.
constituents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that was big news. No property tax. All right. The other big news, item number three, came around in July. A lot of people wondered what was going on. The Times-Gazette, the local newspaper, just kind of shuttered itself. No
Out of the
more.
blue. Nobody
Just
expected.
nobody expected it. I think a few people probably knew it, but most everybody out in the public. So what has happened? I didn't get my paper. And then we hear we're going to be closed for a couple of weeks and then we're going to restart. No restart took place.
Right.
So everybody's in limbo. And here at Shelbyville Now, I started posting the obituaries because there was no public forum for that. And just people started crowding in. I mean, we just exploded. All right. Then there's talk of another newspaper starting up.
Yeah.
And we saw the Bedford County Post form, okay, owned by a company out of, the headquarters are in Tullahoma, and I think they're owned from maybe up in Virginia or somewhere. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
you know the background on that.
Yeah, they're out of town. We looked into that back when it happened. I honestly don't remember what the
Right.
actual city is that they're
Okay.
in. But all those people at the Post now were at the Gazette
Right.
the month before. So
Right.
they're at least local people
Right.
writing the articles.
So they
and
started
covering the-
what they got going about September, I guess, or late August. They were doing some stuff online and let everybody know what was going on. Now, Times-Gazette pops back up. Okay. So at the moment, there's still some confusion. Here it is in December, and you have confusion about, we got a paper. Is it the Gazette? No, it's the Bedford Post, Bedford County Post. And then they think Shelbyville Now is a paper. And it's just mass confusion. So this is a major news story with our news outlet. Okay. So my question is now, how many people are still getting the Times-Gazette and read the Times-Gazette? How many people get the Bedford County Post and read the Bedford County Post? Or do they think it's the same? I mean, there's still confusion, but it's a big
Right.
story for this town and this county.
Yeah, it's my understanding if you had a subscription to the Gazette, you are getting it in the mail now. That's kind of how they're filling out their subscriptions that they had. Because when they shut down, there was the big uproar. I want my money back. I mean, there's people that had just signed up for 1 year subscription, got one paper in the mail, and then it disappeared.
Yeah.
So if you paid for a whole year of newspapers, you were
And the Gazette's owned by a company out of Camden, Tennessee.
It's
that bought
Camden?
but
Okay.
It was bought basically
The
out
bank?
of bankruptcy,
Right.
right? Wherever
I
you
think
look at
that's
it, from the
right.
bank.
yeah.
And the place in Camden bought the paper.
Yeah, and from what I can see, and I read both of them, it looks like the Gazette only has maybe two people
Two. Right.
writing for them right now, where the Post is
I got
not a big
6 or
staff.
7.
Like, 5, 6, 7 people
Yeah.
at the Post. So
All right. So
But
that's but
Our newspapers kind of dying all over the country, not just here. I mean, it's happening
local
everywhere.
papers, I think, are. I
Right.
mean, it has been that
Have you
way
picked
for a
up the
while.
Tennessean lately? I mean, it's a little thin thing, and
Oh,
it,
yeah.
you know, even my bifocals, it's so small you can't read it.
Well, most everybody, they go to this little device right here,
Right.
and they look on Facebook, they look on Twitter, they have other news outlets, and they get their instantaneous news. And
Right.
but there's still a core of traditional people that are out there that's my age and older, probably, and there's some other folks that
still.
just like to read, okay,
Yeah.
in a paper.
My biggest issue with the Post, and I read the Post, and they've got great articles, but if something happens in the city or the county on a Monday or Tuesday, by the time it's in the Post, a week and a half has passed almost.
Right.
So, and I liked when David Melson used to be at the Gazette. If something urgent came up, he would get it out there
yeah,
on social
on his
media,
own, He would
Right.
just do it on
or
his
sometimes
own,
even on the Gazette website, whereas it doesn't seem like the Post wants to put anything out until the actual paper is on.
Right. So
Yeah.
you got a lag time there, and at Chevrolet now we're trying to. Our website has exploded since all this happened because
Right.
we're trying to put stuff up as it happens when it happens. So
Right.
we introduced that. We ramped it up, and Josh, you've been doing a great job of covering
Mhm.
some of the local stories as far as our city council and our commissions, all the government agencies you're on top of, and we appreciate you doing that. But that, to me, that's evolved just this year.
And what I like
because
about
of
your
that.
articles, I'm gonna brag on you here for this one. Typically, I've been doing this a long time. If you said 10 things or did an interview with one of these reporters, they print 2 and leave the 8 out, or at least the 3 or 4 things that were the biggest point of the meeting or whatever was said,
Right.
and they would leave it out.
Right.
You report what it is. You
I'm-
don't sugarcoat it, and you
Yeah,
go
I'm
and
trying.
you cover it all.
Right, just
Yeah.
cover it all.
And that's
Yeah,
what
and
you that's what you need to do.
And I go to every major city or county meeting that happens in Bedford County. I'm there, sitting there in person. I try to talk to the county commissioners, to guys on city council, just to kind of get as much background as I can. Because again, if you're waiting to read it in the paper, you're going to wait a week and a half, whereas
Right.
we might be able to get something out the next day.
Yes. Well, I guess now the question is, as far as those 2 newspapers, do 2 continue? If not, does 1 continue, and which one is it? And I'm going to have to say Bedford County Post looks like they have
Oh,
the
sure.
advantage.
If you were betting, they'd
Yeah.
win the betting line
Yeah.
by a ton. And I don't think
I
there's
think
any
it's going to
way.
be hard for either one of them to make it when you're only putting a paper out once a week, once every 2 weeks.
That's
I just
true.
think
Yeah.
until you get more, until you do better than that, it's
Yeah.
not going to work.
Right. Even the Gazette, right before it folded, was at least twice a week.
Right.
Right.
So, and they were 3 times a week not long before that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, to be down to once a week, that's also part
That's
of why
going
it's
to be
taken.
hard to make it
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah.
once a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because news is a week late. It's not news anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got. Okay, guys, the next topic, our water issue that just recently came up, to me is one of the biggest stories of the year. When you have a county, or specifically the city is what this deals with, that's have so many future plans for development. And Josh, you've covered this
Right.
about the number of houses that's coming to the Swing property. And then you've got the Jennings Lane development. Then you have out off of Fairfield Pike, like 600 more homes. You're taking a massive amount of water just for these on a daily basis. And then we just find out from TDEC that they might want to scale us back on what we can draw. And we're going to need future expansion there rather than retraction to do it. So that to me is a major story.
Oh, yeah. And definitely going forward, I think that's one that the city is going to need to seriously look at and address. I wasn't able to go, but I sent someone to the meeting of the Water, Sewer, and Power Board
Right.
this past week. And the position of the board right now is don't panic. TDEC is basically just looking at this, and there could be, who knows how long on a decision. I mean, honestly, Shelbyville Power put in their application for this permit in 2015. They just got their response in 2023. So if that tells you anything about how fast TDEC moves, how fast the state moves, that's 8 years to respond to the permit application.
Unreal.
Yeah, which is, the speed of government. So currently the Water Power Board is saying don't panic, but I've heard privately off the record from, some people connected there that there is a little bit of panic because there was already last year, and I'm pretty sure it was Marshall County, they got a final ruling from TDEC on theirs, and they tried to take it to court, and they ended up having to settle out of court because when you go to fight TDEC, you're not just fighting TDEC, You're fighting all the big environmental
Yeah.
groups in the country,
Yeah.
which have big pocketbooks and big high dollar lawyers. And if you're a little small county, you don't have that kind of
And they have the
resources.
mindset that a snail darter is more important than a human.
Right. Yeah. And that's, if you go on the TDEC website, they have all these letters. The big one, I want to say Southern Environmental Law Council, they submitted a 39-page letter with over 700 pages of attachments explaining why us pulling water out of the Duck River at certain times was killing certain
Yeah.
mollusks and mussels and, certain animals I didn't even know lived in the Duck River. And
Yeah.
apparently they do.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the Duck River is one of the most diverse rivers in the world.
right.
But at the same time, it sustains a lot of human life.
But
and that's important.
And that's why they didn't let them build the Columbia
Yeah,
Dam. Had the
right.
Columbia Dam been
Right,
built,
this
you wouldn't have the problem
Wouldn't have this issue
you
right
have
now.
now.
Exactly.
But you have to think, we're drawing water. The water then goes to Lewisburg, then to Columbia.
Right.
We have to keep flowing X amount of water
Right.
so they have drinking
Right.
water. And at some point, we cannot continue. It's not just water. I'm going to bring power into this as well, because you're going to run into what Rutherford County's run into. You're going to have, when it's really cold and when it's really hot, rolling blackouts because our power grid is only
Right.
so much.
Right.
And we had a little bit of that last summer
Yeah.
in some places here.
Well, we
But
had,
we had
it
a
in
lot of it
winter.
Rutherford
Then we have it
It
in
was the
winter too.
It was
yeah,
a winter.
right around Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the temperature got way colder.
Because
than
you got
it
all
was.
these extra homes and only so much on the grid.
Josh had to get his blanket at.
I did. Out there at Union Station, it got cold.
But
for a
in
couple days.
Woodbury, Cannon County, they've stopped subdivision growth because of water. I
Right.
believe the same thing that's happening in Marshall County are happening over there.
Yeah, Lewisburg, their power
There's
and
some
water board.
restrictions.
Yeah, they restricted. They're not approving any subdivision 5 or more houses. They moratorium through at least next summer. They'll revisit the issue, but currently they're.
That's why
worried
you
about
see
water.
what's
Right.
coming this way for
Yeah,
us. And
yeah.
I mean, we're here.
All right. So for 2024, our eyes are going to be on this story.
Right.
Yes,
What's
this
going
is
to
a
happen
big
next?
story.
Yeah.
I mean, because it affects all these developments it's an impact. Okay. If we don't have the water, sorry, we just can't keep adding to the spigots.
Nope.
We
And
got
it's not just the developments. We've got the battery plant coming in, and they're gonna.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Battery
Stop.
plants. Hold on. That's not about. Hey, story number 4B. All right.
B.
The battery plant is not a battery plant. By the way, we
I
found that
think
out.
Bill might have some.
Well, we
some
were
comments
sold.
on
We
the
were
thing.
sold a bill of goods that this was a battery plant. It's Project Cardinal. It's secret. Oh, we might lose it. And then come to find out, the battery plant went to Clarksville, created 400 and some odd jobs. And we're getting the chemical plant that goes in the batteries that's done by robotics.
Okay.
And there's one just like it. It's not Duxon, but it's a company in Beaver Dam, Kentucky. And I used to sell pencils there for years. And a friend of mine was a principal up there. I called him about this, and he says, well, they're going to show you a picture. It's going to have a beautiful facility, and it's going to have all these cars, and 135 jobs is what they told us. It's funny. That's exactly the number they gave us here. And it turns out it's some physicists and chemists. It's very toxic.
Okay.
So it's robots doing the work. So you got you a robot plant to put chemicals.
Okay.
So Drew Hooker's asked for this to see the environmental study out there for this chemical, not a battery plant.
Right.
Oh, we got it. Well, where is it? We've never seen it. What I did see from TDEC, and I've got it at the office, they are going to release VOMs into our ground once a month. Y'all know what that is?
What is that?
Violent organic materials.
Okay.
And they got it approved.
By who?
TDEC.
Okay. So what is that going to do to our land out there?
Good question. It can't be good. It's out there at your hospital, your justice center, your jail, your Walmart DC, and you put a chemical plant right there.
Okay.
And a park, by the way, what does that mean to you guys? An industrial park. It means multiple businesses,
We got
right?
3. We got 3 out there. And one of them is your chemical plant, Bill. Thanks for
What's
that.
the other
I
one?
appreciate
What-
you getting
what's
that
the
done
other-
for us.
what's the other 2 out there other than that, other than the chemical
Well,
plant?
you got
TCAT will be there.
the school.
Yeah, the
Okay, which
school.
is not a business.
It's not a business.
school. And then we just had something
new
else.
distillery from Uncle
Distillery.
Nearest.
Yeah.
But Uncle Nearest didn't have anything to do with the industrial park. That was at Sand Creek Farms, right?
Yeah, but they're building something back
Yeah,
there.
they're taking the
All
last
part of that
26
property.
acres to
Randy Carroll, our mayor, city mayor, was talking about that. Okay. So we've got an industrial park that's got it's eat up the 26 acres or whatever it was, is it, or what 52? What I don't know. It's a big
The
amount
park
of
was
land.
pretty big, but yeah, it's full.
It's full with
Yeah.
3 businesses. All
Yeah.
right. Well,
And-
I envisioned that a little different. I thought, well, there's going to be a road and there's going to be a warehouse and a plant and a plant and a plant
And
another-
jobs.
and jobs. And Well, it's not getting much, but
You might have a
Uncle
maintenance guy or two.
Nearest, they're saying about 100, and Duck Santa's saying about 100, and TCAT is not jobs as much as training. Although they'll
Right.
have obviously
Well, right.
professors.
we'll help
yeah.
our workforce.
Well, the
There's no
place in
doubt.
Beaver Dam, Kentucky, I'm talking about just like this includes 21 people.
Okay.
So that's probably
It'll be
going to be
interesting.
closer to 20 or 21
It'll be
than it's going to be
interesting.
than 100.
It'll be interesting to
We'll
see
keep
how
an
they-
eye out on
yeah,
that.
so-
Well,
See, because they'll have to do job listings and stuff. So
And
we'll see.
One commissioner
Right,
told
yeah.
me, well, when they don't meet this criteria, they'll get fined. You know what the fine is? You got to actually pay your taxes.
Oh, okay.
Because we let them have it for tax-free for 7 years. So
Okay. All
you're
right,
not
so
bringing any
that's-
revenue in here. You gave it away. You gave the land to them. They didn't
Yeah.
even pay for the
Yeah.
land. Let's just don't see whether this was a good deal for the taxpayer.
All right. So, subject 4B is that
Yes,
the battery
yes.
plant
The chemical
that
plant.
turned into a chemical plant. All right. All right. The other one, number 5, and this is one that I've been following for a couple years now, but it kind of surfaced this year, and nobody's really reporting on it or paying attention to it. It's the Tennessee walking horse industry. The USDA has written a rule that would virtually ban the independent inspections that are taking place and do away with the action device, which is a chain, and then the shoeing, which is the pads and shoes that allow the big lick to take place. All this will go away if it is published, which the public comment period is over. It was over in October, and now we're waiting to see what the USDA is going to do. The USDA is going to come out with this rule probably in 2024 sometime, and then in 2025 try to implement it, which would drastically change the Tennessee walking horse, which would affect the city of Shelbyville and all of Bedford County and some surrounding counties. So it will have an economic impact that, I mean, it's already tapered off a lot, but this would be it would change the whole industry. So it would look completely different.
And would a spectator want to come watch without the big leg?
That's
And that's
the
the question I
question,
have.
yeah.
I don't
Right.
think that. I think it.
No,
they
I
wouldn't.
don't think it would. There would still be horse events, but you wouldn't
Right.
have the big crowds like you would see now. So that's a drastic impact on our local economy.
Let me ask you a devil's advocate kind of question. I'm only been here 2 years. How big is the walking horse industry here now versus I hear all these stories of you couldn't come into town during the horse show
Right.
Used
before.
to.
There's a
Right.
lot
And
bigger.
now I can drive down Madison Street, horse show week, and I go in and I get my donuts. I haven't been to the horse show yet, but I go in and get my donuts. And it doesn't look to me like this massive, huge event
not.
that I hear about from
Right.
20 years ago.
20, 30 years ago, it was obvious.
Right.
I mean, it is flooded in. The spectators were a lot more then than they are now.
Right.
The participation level in the show is probably double as far as number of horses and number of participants back 25 years ago. But it's still a large horse show that brings with it some economic value to the city. Not like it did, but it's still a major impact because of the hotels, the restaurants, and then you have more people traveling in and out during the year. It's kind of scattered out more rather than just compacted into those 2 weeks.
In its prime,
Yeah.
people rented their houses out
Yes.
for the
Right.
week. That's
Yeah.
how they
And
took
there's- and
vacations.
there's
And there's still some of
There's
that.
still some of that,
Yeah.
but it's nothing like it was. But it's
Right.
still a big impact to Bedford County and Shelbyville. All right, what I think will happen, and which I'm hearing will happen, is this rule will get published, and then the industry will try to get this stopped. They will try to get a stay put on it or an injunction order to halt it, to go to court and try to win a case that is discriminating against just one breed. Okay, which is. This rule is specifically written for the Tennessee walking horse industry, and I think the case can be made that it is discriminatory, and it should be for all breeds or none. Okay,
Right.
so I think that's the direction they'll probably head with it, and that will kick the can down the road for a lawsuit. So we're going to be in limbo for a little while longer. This industry has been in limbo for the last 10, 12, 15 years about what's going to happen next, Well, we're at that point, and it's probably going to get delayed and prolonged just a little bit more, which will probably save the 2024 season. But after that, who knows? So this is a major story for Shelbyville, Tennessee.
You know, it's
Right.
it's strange you don't see the government interested in shutting down the racehorses because there's a lot goes on there. And we've had horses
Right.
down at the Kentucky, not the small. I mean, the big ones. There's a
Well,
lot of things going on.
there-
But you know why they're not going to touch that? Gambling and
industry.
money.
The money.
And
Yes.
the gambling. That's why they're not going to touch it.
Well, there is a fight against the racehorse industry right now. And in Kentucky, they've dealt with it. In California, they dealt with it. They've had these racetracks have horses actually die. I think one racetrack in California had 12 horses to die in a major event. Well, all the people that are fighting against the walking horse industry are going against that. But like you say,
Gambling
it
and
can't be
money.
touched.
Yeah.
That money is there.
They got the
okay?
dogs though. They did away basically with greyhound. Is that even illegal anymore? I know
Yeah,
one in
yeah, there's
West
still
Memphis
some.
shut down. Maybe there's a place in Florida. That's
Well,
still doing it.
Florida, I know Mike Huckabee and Donald Trump's daughter-in-law actually got that stopped in Florida.
Oh, it's over there. I don't know where they're even allowed anymore.
So,
but see, there's not a lot of money in the dogs, so you can
not
stop
nothing
that.
like it
Now,
was.
you're
like
talking
horses.
big money with this racehorse.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is to me a large story that nobody really reports on. I know the Walking Horse Report, which is a local based company, they report on it on a regular basis, but the local population just doesn't hear about it.
Right.
We just don't know about it, but it's out there, and I'm going to stay on top of it because it's our livelihood here in Bedford
Right.
County.
Oh, sure.
But that wraps up our 5 top stories of the year. But we have one other story
Mhm.
that's really big sports wise.
Right.
And Bill,
Coach Dryden, thank you for bringing Shelbyville football back. Thank you to your coaching staff. Thank you to the kids. It's nice to win again and
Yeah.
to go from 1-10
to
10-2.
Yeah,
Have that
playoffs.
and make the playoff. And if we could have won that game, I think if we could have gotten past that one,
Right.
I think we could have gone.
We're this close
We're
away
this
from
close.
that state level caliber
And
team.
we've got a lot of good young kids coming back next year.
Right. So to me, best sports story in Bedford County definitely was that turnaround.
Absolutely.
It's unbelievable.
To go from that to that in 1 year is just phenomenal. And
Yeah.
watching the crowd come back the way it did in that fish fry we pulled off and getting that crowd and those parents getting
Big
involved.
story.
Randy Clant looks at me and goes, we're Cascade, not at Central High School. And it's been done at Central before, but not in years where you
Yeah.
had the parental involvement that you had. You got a great bunch of parents of these kids, and just what a great year. And for Coach Dryden and those kids, just can't say enough. And the future's bright.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But it's a big story
Yeah.
for Shelbyville and Bedford County.
And it goes back to those coaches at Harris Middle School, too, feeding
Yeah,
it up
yeah.
here. They've had
Yeah.
3 great years there, and that's
Yeah,
what's coming to
that's
your
a
high
side
school.
story to
Right.
the central.
And then when I look
success.
out, and you and I are standing on the sidelines, and we see those Harris coaches coaching right there with the
Right on
varsity.
with the varsity.
We hadn't
team.
had that
Yeah.
around here, and that's probably a lot to do with the success we're having.
Right. It
Because
is.
I can remember a time where the junior high coach didn't hardly speak to the high school coach, ran something totally different.
Yeah.
So if you ran the wing T, he's over here running the shotgun.
Yeah.
Well, you can't have that. This right here, it's seamless how they go from one up to the other one.
Yeah. It is set up perfectly. The program is set up perfectly for
Right.
success. And it's a great turnaround.
Great turnaround. And like I said, the future's bright here at Shelbyville. And next year, I think we're going to be awfully good.
Yeah.
And it starts in the off season. I know Coach Dryden and them are working hard right now.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, that kind of wraps up this show for us. The top 5 news stories, and then one
With a-
tag on with
Tag
a
on.
policy. And guys, we might have made some critical statements about stuff that's happened this past year, but usually when news makes the top of the list, there's some negative things that happen in it. But overall, I wouldn't change any place about anything about Bedford County
Nope.
except a few little tweaks. We love it. We live here, and we talk about it because we care. That's
And
it.
let's grow it, not fill it up.
That's right.
Growth, I'm good with.
Yeah.
Filling it up, no.
Yeah.
Because there's only so many resources we've got, from water to power. And the one thing about this county is the beautiful rolling hills.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
the beautiful scenery of why people from California tell me they've moved here. And we can't put a subdivision on pieces of rock and put a subdivision on farmland that you can't get a T-post in.
That's right.
If you and I, they tell us it's got a perk for you and I, how come a developer can come in here and build 100 houses when me and you couldn't build one?
We just
It
have,
ain't right.
Hey, we just have to keep standing up to
Right.
protect what we have here,
We have
and
to.
that's not negative against growth.
No.
I've heard that you're against growth. No, absolutely,
Absolutely
not.
not.
But I am against just filling something up for the sake of filling it up, and that's a big difference. And guys, we do this show because we love
That's
Bedford
right.
County and Shelbyville.
Yeah, if we wanted to live in Murfreesboro, we would have
We-
been in Murfreesboro. That's why we're
I've
down
said that
here.
on the commission
So-
floor
But
before.
we are here, and we want to wish all of y'all a happy new year. And as 2024 gets started, we're going to continue to be here bringing you what's important to you, a resident of Bedford County and of Shelbyville. And thanks for watching this show. Thanks for these 2 guys for being a part of Shelbyville now and sitting down with us today.
And thank you, David, for this venue. It's meant a lot to a lot of folks here that you're able to put stuff out that was never getting out before.
Well, we're going to continue to do it as long as
Absolutely.
we've got electricity to do it.
Yeah.
That's right.
thanks guys for watching. We'll be back again real soon, and look for all the different things that are going to be happening on Shelbyville Now. Go to our website at shelbyvillenow.com and you can get the latest stuff. We try to keep it up there as quickly as we possibly can. We have the obituaries updated on a daily basis and sometimes hourly. We've got a live scanner that you can go listen to, police scanner, and it covers police, fire, EMS, all the local emergency departments. You can listen in real time there. And of course, watch for our shows. We're going to bring back Bedford County Live in January, about the middle part of January. It's coming back. We'll continue ahead of the curve. And I know, Josh, you're going to be on the beat. Bill, you're going to be out there in the middle of things with sports and the beat as well. And we'll bring this information to you as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all this upcoming year. Thanks.